Hello there, and welcome into my sports talk show. I am your host, Carlation Jr., joined by a special guest this Thursday evening on my sports talk show. Current head men's basketball coach of Salem State University, Chris Harvey. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great, Carl. Thanks for having me, man. Really excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Now, you got the job in 2007 at Salem State University, but before then, you had 24 years of experience as a college coach. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so back in 1998, LaSalle College in Newton, Massachusetts went co-ed. They actually went co-ed in 97. They were bringing in male students for the fall of 98. My high school coach knew the dad of the kid who got the head job at LaSalle. I was at the point where I wanted to try to get to the college level. Long story short, an introduction, got the job as an assistant. 2 years later, I'm the head coach, one of the youngest in the country at the time. I was 28. And, just been fortunate now, whatever that is now, 24 years later, here I am.
So, your team had the best season in the 2008-2009 season was the Sweet 16 when you went 23-7.
Yeah, that was a great team that we had. We had just come off the year before. We were 21-7. We had lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. And then we brought basically that whole team back, had a couple of incoming players that were a key factor on that Sweet 16 team. And, being in Division III, you don't get as much publicity. But what a lot of people don't know about that team is that we had the freshman of the year in the conference had broken his hand late during the regular season. So he missed the playoffs and the NCAA tournament. He's gone on to be, graduated, probably 2012, but he's in the Hall of Fame now at our school. He played pro basketball for a few years in Portugal. And if he was healthy, Carl, I think that Sweet 16 team, it's the what if, right? But we might have gotten out of that Sweet 16 and maybe to an Elite Eight. Of course, we'll never know, but that was a fun team to be around, man. When a group of guys buy into what you're doing, you can hold them accountable. They were competitive, tough kids, mentally, physically. Just a special year. Just a special year.
Now, you also were the coach 4 years. You were the coach of the year 4 years in a row. How did you like that?
Well, I would credit our players a lot more than anything I did. I probably, I did my best to stay out of their way. I think sometimes coaches, as the head coach, we seem to get a lot of praise, but as you know, in sports, it's everybody's involved. Honestly, from the last guy on the bench to the athletic trainers, to your coaching staff. Most importantly, I just happen to be at the front of the bus. So, I every time I've been fortunate to win an award like that, I've always made sure that our staff and our players are well aware that it's not me. Never been. People ask me all the time, "What's your career record?" I say 0-0. This is a player's game. You know that. You know that about most sports, if not all sports. And you need players. So I've been fortunate to recruit some very talented players and have my staff do the same.
And that's almost like when it's on to Cincinnati. We're preparing for Cincinnati. It's on to Cincinnati.
Right. And I have to say thank you for not bringing up the Yankees yet tonight because I know how much of a Yankees fan you are, and my beloved Bo Sox are circling the toilet.
I think that has to do with Heim Bloom. You had a good team until Heim Bloom came along.
It's interesting, Carl. About Heim Bloom, and I try to give everybody the opportunity to instill their philosophy. Obviously, I don't know the guy. I'm a huge sports fan. I just find it, and we know, right, that he had to rebuild the farm system. When the running thing about Dave Dombrowski is he'll win, but he's going to give up your farm system to bring in the more well-known players. And of course, he did that, right? They win a World Series, but now a few years after that, the farm system supposedly is depleted, and Himes come in and tried to rebuild that with some things. But I just think when you're in a major market like New York or Boston or Philly, LA, you've got to have players. You've got to have players. And watching this year, it's just been tough. It's been tough. I mean, they just find ways to lose. Their pitching staff seems to be let's pay for guys that are coming off of surgery or had a bad year, and let's see if something pans out. It just hasn't panned out.
Now, in 1994, you graduated from Worcester State College, which is only 18 miles away from where I live.
Yeah, I had a great time out there in Worcester, man. I really enjoyed it. I paid for college on my own, my undergrad and graduate experience. Have a loving and family. I'm the baby of 6 kids, but the first to go to college. So I could afford Worcester State with some part-time jobs, summer jobs, and but very thankful. I really love Central Mass. I've always enjoyed my time out there, and Worcester still means a lot to me. And Worcester State's in our league, but I always wish them well, except for the 2 nights a year that we play.
I've been up there before when I was touring colleges when I went
Oh,
to
nice.
college. Yeah,
Yeah,
went up there.
and I don't know, Carl, if you've been up in the last, say, maybe couple years, but my gosh, that place has changed. It's beautiful. New fields, new facilities, new buildings, really sharp.
Last time I was up there was I've been up to like Worcester, but the last time I was at Worcester State, I believe, was 2013.
Wow. Wow. So that's a good time ago. That's
Yeah,
shoot, that's almost 10 years now, man.
yeah.
Yeah, you got to get back up there.
Yep, and think about the Pelicans, and they made the March Madness this year, and they were kind of like your Salem State team. Everybody counted
Yeah,
them out.
yeah. You mentioned the Pelicans.
Yeah, wasn't it the Pelicans, the ones from New Jersey?
Oh, St. Peter's.
Yeah, St. Peter's.
Yeah, is that there? I didn't realize they were the Pelicans. Yeah, no, they had a great run, right? Wow, what? And then in this business, right? You get that young man who's the head coach. He's able to take that job, have success, and then now he's at Seton Hall, and he probably made a lot of money off of that St. Peter's. So it's I'm an optimistic guy. It's different at Division III, I can tell you that, but at the scholarship level, Division I, you want to be optimistic, but a lot of those men and women, they get hired to get fired. Everybody sings their praises when they're winning games and bringing in revenue to the university. But once you have a downturn, even as 1 year, it's okay. See you later. So I've got some friends at that level on the men's side mostly, and it's when I look at them sometimes, man, they're having fun, they're making money, but boy, they're stressed out.
Just like you said, you paid for college when I went to UMass, and I did most of my stuff online, as you knew from
Right.
my broadcasting thing. I paid for most of it on my own. My mom helped me a little bit, but I paid for it mostly on my own from
Good for you,
graduation
man.
gifts and stuff like that.
Well, and I think when you do that, right, Carl, you end up appreciating it a little bit more, right? What's at stake. You're actually reached into your own wallet and paid some money there. So, it sounds like we have similar backgrounds in a lot of ways, loving, mom and supportive, but, sometimes money, wasn't always there. So
Mhm.
you got to do what you got to do. And I don't think we make excuses about that. I just think we find a way to get it done.
So you mentioned Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski wasn't the owner, but he was kind of like George Steinbrenner. And now the Yankees are not doing that great under his son. It seems like Hal's getting booed every time when there's a ceremony there. Brian Cashman's getting booed. Aaron Boone, the front office.
I mean, you follow the Yankees obviously a lot more
Yeah.
closely than I do, and I find it odd to they got off to such a ripping start. I mean, they were on pace for like going undefeated. It seemed like, right?
Yeah.
But now they're kind of they're settling in, and they'll be in the playoffs, and they've got some injuries like everybody else. I mean, Nestor threw a good game last night. I'm still trying to figure out what that thing he did with his leg was when he was pitching. He kind of I mean, I'm listening on the local broadcast, right? And Kevin Youkilis was saying he thought, Dennis Eckersley, of course, Hall of Famer. I don't know if they were joking, but they were, said like it looked like a balk, like his leg
Oh.
went to home, but then it went backwards and then it went the other way. And I don't know, but that guy can pitch, man.
And Dave O'Brien had a close friend to text him and said he never saw Nestor made moves like that, but that was the biggest move he ever saw him making in his life. He was a Yankees fan, David O'Brien's friend.
Yeah, I tell you what, that Yankees lineup, man, if they're healthy and everybody's clicking like they were in the beginning of the year, they're going to be a tough out, right? I think one of their biggest losses is the kid from Boston College, King. I think it's Mike King or something. He's a
Michael
pitcher
King.
relief. What's his name?
Michael King.
Michael King. Boy, was he something early in the season. I think that's a big loss. Chapman, he's kind of at the back end of his career. You don't really know what you're going to get with him. If they can get Rizzo healthy, they're dangerous. Are we on a crash course for Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts? Is that where we're heading in the World Series? Maybe.
That'd be nice to see because I have a friend that said he'd get me out there. Former Astros pitcher from back in the 05 World Series. I think you've seen him on my show. He's on Facebook. A good friend of mine on Facebook, Mike Gallo.
Yeah. I've seen that episode actually. I watched it.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I find it strange the Red Sox had all these great guys, and now they have guys coming up. Like last night, I happened to be watching because I have DirecTV, so I get all the sports channels. But when Boston plays New York, unless it's on Apple TV or ESPN or Fox, I have to watch it on Nesson. So I enjoy the guys there. I'm friends with Lenny Donato and stuff.
Oh, wow.
What I find funny is last night, and I don't know if you saw that, but the young kid, and they said he looked like Kurt Schilling that was out there pitching. I forgot his name.
King? Is it King? No, not King. Zach Kelly?
I don't know if it was Zach Kelly. He had long hair. He was big like Kurt Schilling.
Yeah, Caleb Mort, maybe. I was more concerned about that poor guy they put in center field who was really couldn't catch anything, man. And they were trying to justify it. And I just, I don't know, man. I mean, at one point I grew up, I'm older, of course. I grew up and we had Fred Lynn, Dwight Evans, Jim Rice, and I'm out there looking at some guy who certainly didn't have the body of a center fielder. And we had Betts, of course, Benintendi now with the Yankees, not really having a great time with the Yankees. I'd be surprised if they re-signed him at the end of the year. But my beloved Sox, man, I don't know. It's Patriots season. Carl, what do we think? I mean, they don't look good either.
The Patriots haven't looked good since Bill Belichick got rid of Tom Brady.
I think we're all going to have that revisionist history that time is going to show that Mr. Kraft should have stepped in and said, you know what, we're going to stay with Brady. We're going to move on from Belichick. Again, players league, right? And in that league, quarterback-driven league. And when you got the best, man, I think you got to find a way to ride it as long as you can.
And I'm happy for Todd Bowles, the coach now. He was under Arians for a while, and he was also under Chuck Spagnuolo. I think it was Chuck Spagnuolo, the Colts.
Yeah.
The year when he called up the commissioner because the Ravens coach, he was the assistant coach on the Ravens, and the Ravens called up and said, "Oh, the Patriots are deflating footballs that year."
Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. You know, I find it. I think when you're on top, right? I think like the Patriots were during that 20-year run. I think people find a way, anything they can, to take you down. Whether that was a true thing, they were deflating balls. Who knows? You know, who knows? Videotaping other teams. You know, I just think that anytime you're on top, there's somebody trying to bring you down. You know, we'll see where this version of the Patriots goes. I mean, Sunday didn't look very hot. You know, I think you would agree. Mac Jones had better receivers in college than he did on the pros. You know, and I mean, nobody's open. There's nobody to throw to. There's no the offensive line's in shambles. And I think that when we look at Belichick, nobody's going to argue that he's not a great coach. But I think we'll have to really think about, you know, he's basically 500 without Brady, and he hasn't been the head coach of a winning playoff team without Brady. Again, nobody's saying he's a bad coach, but
you're probably a better coach than he is.
Nah. I will say, if I was Mr. Kraft, I definitely would have went with Brady and rode that as well. But hey, now listen, we got Giselle trying to, who knows? She might, who knows what they're doing? I saw a report somewhere that they don't even like live together or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that on CNN.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? But I think for Brady, right? I mean, he's a brand now, right? With all the different things he has going on. But you got to respect how much he's given up with whether it's his body, his time. Everybody will say, well, he makes a lot of money. Yeah, he does. But to do what he's doing at the age that he's doing it at, I mean, it's unheard of, so you got to respect it.
And what's funny is when he went to the White House for the first time with the Buccaneers, and he took a crack at the president before Biden, and that's the first time I ever agreed with Mr. Brady with politics.
Yeah, I try to stay out of that, man. I think the climate we're in right now, boy, oh boy, it's crazy. I just try to keep my head down and live my life.
Yeah. So your kids, would they be going to Salem State when they graduate from high school?
Yeah, no. My daughter is a senior in high school now, and she's done really well with school. She's looking at some really big private, she's visited Brown, John Hopkins down in Maryland, Middlebury in Vermont, Bowdoin, so we're going to figure out how that gets paid, man. I'm not exactly sure. My son's only a sophomore, so we've got some time to figure that out.
So she'll go to a better college than you and I combined.
Amen. Hey, maybe they'll help us out when we're old, man. Who knows?
John Hopkins. That's kind of close to my vacation down at Camden Yards. That's not that far away from.
Oh, you Camden go? Yards. I didn't realize you go down to Camden a fair amount. I have a cousin that goes down. He's a Red Sox fan, but it's cheaper for him to go to Maryland to see a ball game than maybe Fenway Park. He goes at least once a year when the Sox are down in Camden.
I go once a year too. Next year I'll probably go on opening day, which. Wow. Down in Baltimore, because the seats are cheaper. And I found out through my friends that became friends with me, the workers, the ushers and the people like the Yankees fans and the people like you, the Red Sox fans, are the reason that stadium stays open and that pays their salary. That's when they have the most fans, because like opening day, all the Orioles fans show up and then they go back in their closets after opening day. My friends told me.
You and I are, old school. We love baseball. I really am excited next year to see what the pitching clock and the removal of the shift, basically. They've got to find a way to make these games shorter in time. I think we all live in a day and age where we're constantly, bombarded with social media, with information, and to give 4 hours of your time every night for 162 ball games, it's hard. It's even hard for folks like us that love baseball. When you look at football, it's 2+ hours, hockey 2 hours, soccer 2 hours, and then you got baseball coming in over 3+ hours on average. And then you get your Red Sox Yankees that could be 4 hours, and it's a lot, man. It's a big commitment. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. And we know too, right, that we have so much gambling now, more so I think than ever, and you need offense. You need offense, and baseball needs more runs, needs more production, and with this analytics now in every sport, but certainly in baseball, where you can position every player to basically take away any advantage the batter might have. I don't know if that's the way the game was intended.
Then you have basketball, and sometimes that goes even longer when they keep on. You would know that, but like when Shaquille O'Neal gets fouled by one of the Celtics players when he played on the Heat or the Lakers, so they could try to come back and win.
Yeah, and in basketball, and I think that we're really at the end of the day talking a lot too about instant replay, and it just makes me realize how much money's involved in terms of gambling. That's just how I see it. Everything's got to be reviewed 17 different angles, and to get it right. It just sometimes, these games are refereed and umpired by men and women. They're humans. They make great calls and they miss calls. Like, at some point we got to live with that, right? To sit there and the fourth quarter of an NBA game, the last 4 minutes of an NBA game could take 2 hours. Everything's got to be reviewed. It's to me, maybe we're getting older. It gets out of hand to me.
What I find funny is I'm turning 30 on October 30th, so I'm getting older too. But what I find funny is there's guys younger than me playing, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, soccer, MLS, or even the NBA. And it goes to show me I'm getting older in age when there's a guy 21 playing for the Celtics, or a guy 20 playing for the Lakers.
Hey man, I turned 50 in July, so I don't know. The younger guys, man, it is fun, right, to see these guys playing and how skilled they are. And I always tell people, maybe it's I played baseball at Worcester State. When you think about the major sports, baseball is the only sport where when you're on offense, you don't start with the ball. The defense has to pitch you the ball. And it's hard, man, right? I mean, you get somebody batting 300, they're one of the best ever. But one less hit and they bat 200, you may not even be in the league after a year or two, right? I mean, it's just so hard. And these guys now, I mean, I love listening to Eckersley. I'm sad he's retiring at the end of the year from the broadcast booth. But, everybody throws 95 now. It's almost, these are my words, it's almost like you don't even have to pitch. You just got to hum it, And I'm left-handed, and I always joke, of course, I'm like, why couldn't the good Lord just put 100 miles an hour onto this arm, man? He made my fastball like 70 miles an hour. Just like, come on, can you give me something?
What I find funny is the Yankees had the best record in baseball. Now it's the Dodgers. Dave Roberts, former misery for me in 2004.
Yeah. Hey man, I had to live through 86. So, I mean, God bless, may he rest in peace, Bill Buckner. The ball, Mookie Wilson, right? The ball going through Bill Buckner's legs. And the thing about what in '86 that people don't remember or realize is the Red Sox were winning Game 7 as well. And it slipped away there, So as bad as it was with the Buckner era, they still came back in Game 7, were ahead, and they just couldn't close it out. And my wife's grandmother, fast forward, diehard Yankees, like born, New York City, the whole thing. And she used to just rub it into me for years, especially in '03, right? With Aaron Boone and hits that walk off against Wake. And, so then in 2004, we're down 3-0. You get the steal, and then, Kevin Millar, the cowboy up, the group, what they call themselves, the band of idiots or something.
The band of idiots, yeah.
And you win a game. It's like, okay, you win. Okay, now all of a sudden, they get hot, and then they go on to win the World Series. And I just remember her telling her, like, every day, because she would go to bed, when she was older, and she'd go to bed before the games ended, right? Because it was 17-hour long games. And I wake up and say, hey, it's 3-1. It's 3-2. And she was actually somewhat happy for us that we finally won.
Your wife's not a Yankees fan then?
Oh, she's Yankees. Oh, she's Yankees.
How about your kids?
My daughter goes to a bunch of the Sox games. I got a good friend of mine, actually one of my younger assistants. He works there, at the, I think he's in like the outfield somewhere, helping people to their seats and stuff. And so I guess they get tickets. So he's given us some tickets over the past year. So my daughter actually goes quite a bit. She's a huge Raffy Devers fan. My son's not really a baseball guy. He played as a little kid, but then I just think, again, that thing where it's just so long that it's just,
And it seems to me a lot of guys are there, but it seems like it's a woman's sport because there's a lot of, like A-Rod, a woman's man.
Yeah, he's had a good career on and off the court, off the field.
And that's been my hero since I was a little kid. And people say, "Well, you need to get a new hero." But I love A-Rod and just the way
he could play, man. He could play. I think he almost came to the Sox via trade, maybe, and then whatever happened, it fell apart. But I mean, to think about a guy, 6'3", 6'4", with that type of power and ability to play the field, Hall of Famer in my eyes, in this day and age of, whether or not he did or didn't do performance enhancers, who knows, man? Who knows? But he belongs in there. Clemens belongs in there. I'm even going to say Bonds belongs in there. I mean, we're naive if we think those were the only guys doing it at the time. And studies have shown that even if you were, that doesn't mean you're going to hit the ball any better. Again, the other guy still has to throw you the ball, and you're still going to be able to hit it. So I'd love to see all those guys in there. And I also would love just to see, as Major League Baseball has done, is just make sure we clean up the sport, right? And make sure that, that we're not going there again. But I don't think we should hold these guys out. I think Pete Rose might be a little different case just because of the fact that it seems like he was betting on games. And that's a little different.
And also he had more affairs. He had more affairs than anybody in baseball. That's why I've heard too.
Hey, Will Chamberlain's in the NBA Hall of Fame. Who knows what he was doing? There's some wild stories about that cat.
Oh yeah. He played for the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your Celtics did good this year, but I'm sorry to have to say this, but I was cheering on the Warriors because the Celtics and the Lakers are rivals.
Yeah, I've grown to realize that it's okay if you grow up in some state and you root for other teams. I would always wonder why people from Mass wouldn't just root for the home teams. But, we all have our passions and favorites and such. With that said, I'm always going to root for the local teams. I think the Celtics have a really good shot this year. I think the Gallinari thing's going to be, an adjustment. He was going to give them some scoring up front. I mean, he's not a traditional post player. He's going to shoot the ball. I'm curious to see how the Marcus Smart, and Malcolm Brogdon thing goes, because I think I shouldn't say I think, Brogdon's a better offensive player. That's without question. Smart being the player of the year defensively. But, I think the thing that gets the Celtics in trouble at times is when Smart thinks he should be involved a lot more in the offense and just not in his skill set.
I need to get going because on my remaining time, 9:28, and I have to upgrade the pro. So, Chris, thank you for coming on my sports talk show. Excuse me. And
Yeah.
thank you for coming on. And everybody have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I'll be back at it next Monday. Thank you for joining. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Carl. Talk to you soon, brother.
Talk to you soon. Bye.